What's up, guys? Coming at you with another episode of the Tampa Bay Real Producers Podcast. This, of course, is the podcast that is made for real producers by real producers. And so we have an opportunity today to hang out with another esteemed guest, Mr. Andrew Duncan from the Duncan Duo. You probably know the name and the brand. If you follow the Tampa Bay Lightning, you really can't go anywhere without seeing a little bit about Andrew Duncan and the Duncan Duo. So it's good to have you here today, man. How are you?
Yeah, happy to do it. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, no doubt. So, Andrew, I got to connect with Andrew a couple years ago, I guess, for the first time when we featured you and your wife as the Duncan Duo on one of our covers of Tampa Bay Real Producers. This was back in like 2020, I believe. So it's crazy that was 3 years ago already. But
it's only been 3. It seems like longer.
Yeah, tell me about it. A lot has happened, I guess, in 3 years. Huh?
Of course.
And so we've also had Andrew on a couple of our panels. If you follow us at our panels at Whiskey Cake that we've been running, and we've had Andrew on there. He's very well known in the Tampa Bay real estate community for what he's built. And so hopefully on today's podcast, you'll learn some things about him that you might not have known before. We'll dive into his story now and also, of course, some tips on how to be able to build a dynamic team and brand like he has. So let's start with your background, bro. I know you didn't grow up here in Tampa, so let's start there with where you grew up, what eventually brought you to Tampa, and how you started getting an interest in real estate.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in Indiana, Martinsville, Indiana. It's in between Indianapolis and Bloomington. Really small town, one Walmart, one McDonald's, one high school. And so growing up there, raised with Midwestern values. My dad was a factory worker. My mom did a bunch of different things, but a waitress and a variety of different things. And so had 2 brothers, parents married. My dad passed away a few years ago. My parents were married more than 50 years. So I had a really solid moral upbringing, right? So I felt like my parents, there was a lot of stability there. But I definitely did not learn about money and investment from my parents. So I was always an athlete, and my dad coached me as a kid. So I think that's where I developed the, kind of competitive team building, working within a team mentality. But yeah, didn't grow up with a silver spoon. Parents never had more than enough money to pay the bills.
Small town USA, huh?
Super small town. And like I told you before we started today's podcast, I loved sports. So I was a basketball player. I played high school. I was a really good high school player. I played Division I college basketball. So, my parents were at everything that I did. So
where was that at?
I played at IUPUI in Indianapolis. Okay. Yeah, so they're D1, but they're small D1. They've made the tournament a couple of times.
Sure. I've seen them on there.
So in a true story, my college coach, his son ended up making it to the NBA, RJ Hunter. He was in the NBA for a little bit. And now my college coach, Ron Hunter, I think he's coaching at Tulane now. So he's moved to a couple of different schools. But nonetheless,
Andrew was saying he attended Bobby Knight's camp when he was a kid.
Yeah, as a kid. So I'm a basketball junkie.
It's in the blood when you grew up in Indiana.
Yeah,
I guess,
so basketball is one of my passions outside of real estate, and that established pretty early. But yeah, 3 years in a row I went to his basketball camp. I've played against some really good players that are really famous names.
Who's the best that you remember playing against?
Kobe Bryant.
Is that right?
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Kobe Bryant in AAU. So yeah, that was the best player I played
in AAU.
And it's kind of hard to.
Kobe didn't go to college.
It's kind of hard to trump that.
Yeah.
So
did you actually have to guard him?
There were a couple times I wasn't guarding him per se, I wasn't on him, but there were switches or times where you doubled off.
Sure.
He had 50 something points to kill us. So it was a blowout, right? So he was really, really good. But the funny thing is,
cool though to think back to the greatness of Kobe Bryant, being on the same court with him.
Well, and so I ended up becoming a huge fan after that. And so the funny thing is, this is before the internet and Max Preps and TikTok and Facebook, where you learn about who the top players in the country are.
Right.
This all came from magazines, right? And so in fact, there was a lot of conversation about him. His dad happened to be at the game, the only 7 foot. His dad wasn't quite 7 foot, but to me, he looked 7 foot, standing off to the side. And you had magazines and stuff, but I thought his name was Colby. I didn't know how to pronounce his name right, but he went on obviously to become a great player, and I was a big fan of his for his entire career. But
grew up in Philly, didn't he? Or he played Philly high school?
Yeah, he was Lower Merion, and then he played on a couple different traveling teams. So so I became a fan of his because I actually had a personal experience. So it was I was a huge fan. Yeah.
So what did you end up majoring in when you were in school?
So I double majored in political science and business. Okay. I was going to go to law school, and I'm really glad that I did. didn't, because lawyers are like some of my least favorite people. So I'm really glad I didn't do that.
Until you need them.
Yeah, and it's just
and then you hope to find a good
industry. I just couldn't. I don't think I'd have a lot of joy in working in that industry. It's like constant arguing and fighting, and it just didn't seem that fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my plan, and then so all through school, kind of.
Were you going to be a sports agent? Is that why you wanted to go to law school?
No, I think, honestly, I think it was kind of instilled in me early on, go be a doctor or be a lawyer, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think as I got older, I realized my passion really wasn't there. And so my parents were going back and forth between Florida and Indiana and kind of nearing retirement when I was in college. And that's what brought me here. So growing up in a small town, not a lot of diversity, I used to joke when I got down here. It was like I moved down here, and the main reason I moved is because I met a bunch of women and they had teeth. Like it was like,
didn't have that in the hometown that much. Huh?
No, and I joke, but like it's in reality, like it was.
I can imagine some differences between Tampa Bay and 100%. So you guys used to vacation here.
Yeah, so my parents went vacation, and then they retired here, and I went to Ybor City once, and I'm like, I'm moving.
Yes, I remember
I'm
those
here.
days. Ybor's a little different now, but
of course, I don't think I've been to Ybor for anything past a lunch event in probably a decade. But yeah, that
was actually my first experience with Tampa too. I was growing up in Connecticut, but my family I had family in Sarasota. And when I went down to visit them, I hooked up with one of the nurses at a hospital that my dad happened to be at for a reason. And then she took me to Ybor City as a teenager. And I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, and I think the other part is like the climate, the weather. Like I grew up in the snow and cold, so I'd have to wake up in the morning and scrape ice off the windshield and start my car for 20 minutes and all these things. And it just, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for me. So when I did come down here, my first job right out of college, I was a salesperson for a company that ended up getting bought out by a Fortune 500 company. I became the number one salesperson in the company. They gave me Southern California as a territory. So I spent 5 years traveling to LA and San Diego as a guy in his 20s, like for 2 weeks a month. It was like, that was pretty amazing.
Very different than Indiana.
100%. Yeah, I was like, I got exposed very quickly to the world. And I think, and I did in college too, playing basketball, because I traveled around. But but for me, getting into that sales career and working in that environment, the traveling just kind of wore on me. I knew I was good at sales. I knew that's where my passion was. And that's when I started to transition to real estate. I got my real estate license, I think in 2005, while I was still employed there, but I was, but I was transitioning out of that job. It got bought out. The culture changed. I bought some investment properties. I met a couple of real estate agents. I looked at the cars they drove, and I'm like, I'm going to go do this.
Yeah.
What am I doing here? So
was there anything about real estate that was appealing to you that drove you to get licensed back in 2005?
Yeah, I think for me then it was the creativity, I think that you could have. I also think the freedom to kind of grow your own business and opportunity were big parts of it. And I think initially, obviously, it was, where can I use the skills that I have to help the most people and make a great income for my family.
And you were living in Tampa at that time?
I was actually living in St. Pete, but in Tampa Bay.
Okay, gotcha. When did you come down here to live? Remember?
That would have been 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, so I graduated college in 2000. It would have been 2000, and then I worked in the career prior to real estate from like 2000 to 2005, and then that's 2005 is when I started transitioning to real estate.
Did you meet Angela when you were out in San Diego?
No, actually not.
That's where she's from, right?
Yeah, that's correct. No, we did not meet there. We actually met online.
Okay.
Really common today, apparently, but wasn't as normal
Different
then.
back then.
Yeah,
Match.com in the early days.
Yeah, so we didn't meet then, and then I think she started working with me, and we started building out the team, and probably that would have been 07, 08. But I was on my own.
So you were already
as an
licensed
agent.
before. Okay.
Yeah, for a few years, kind of doing my own thing. And then, that was essentially where it kind of started evolving into more of a business than me being a salesperson.
Yeah.
And it was hiring operations people. It was hiring salespeople. It was marketing. It was getting on radio. It was doing the Lightning deal, which I just looked the other day, and I think it's been 10 years. I think I've been with them. It's pretty close to 10 years. Like,
when did the Duncan duo originate?
That would have been then. Yeah, that would have been like 7, 8. Yeah, okay. 7, 8.
And so I want to talk a little bit about that because it ended up, I think, being a dynamic brand, right? Yeah. It still is throughout the Tampa Bay area. And so was it your idea? Was it you and Angela together? Was it someone else that was like, you guys should come up with this thing? Like,
I would say, so like, you know, the company we were with at the time really pushed kind of the team concept. Mm-hmm. And I knew some other couples that had started teams. And, you know, for me, you know, I love to sell and market. And I knew that I wanted to grow something, but I wasn't sure about the name. I mean, clearly, at first it was, let's utilize our strengths and weaknesses and figure out how we can work together, which is a challenge. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, there's no doubt that I would tell people if they are a couple and they want to work together, that it is a very, very challenging thing that I don't always recommend.
Right.
So
it's tough to bring some of the business
100%.
Conflicts into the marriage, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Home. So definitely not something I always recommend. And so anyway, the idea of the name, the idea of starting a team came, you know, probably from a mutual conversation. And then we'd hired a coach who had said, hey, look, you guys can build this and have a quality life, have more people working for you than you doing all the sales. And so the name actually, funny story, I was struggling coming up with a name. Mm-hmm. And at this point, this is like, I didn't have a marketing budget. Mm-hmm. This is like literally, I think I made one sale my first year, mm-hmm. okay, and it was to my parents, mm-hmm. okay, and I gave them half the commission because the lender screwed up the PMI calculation, right? So like
that's awesome.
You know, my second year I think I did, you know, maybe 7 or 8. By my third year is when I started to take off and do okay.
Like, so we won't have you on a rising star panel, probably.
Yeah, it took a while. Like,
and
I tell people, like, you know, you can't skip the process. Like, if you're going to build something long, sustainable, and build wealth, it doesn't always happen overnight. And I think even in some instances where the people that it does happen overnight, they don't know how to handle it. They grew too fast, and then it collapses and busts. Yep. So I wanted to build something long and sustainable, and I certainly wanted to grow. And I think once some of the marketing magic got sprinkled on, then it really started to grow and blossom. But at this point, I didn't have a marketing budget. This is way before I'm talking about being on radio and TV and mm-hmm. billboards and the lightning and you know, billions of dollars in sales. This is before any of that, and I couldn't come up with a name. And I was a marketing guy, so it was kind of my thing. And so they give you these lists, and it's like, you know, do you use your name? Do you use something else? And so Pat Kuhn was my broker at the time. And I don't know if you know Pat.
I know the name, yeah.
Pat was the team leader of the office I was at. I love Pat to this day. She was a great mentor. One of the things that I would tell leaders that I think is really powerful about what she said to me and then her help with me, when I went in and said what my goals were, because when I got my license, I'd become the number one salesperson in the company I was at. I had high drive. I had high ambition. I was a hard worker. And I'm not going to name some of the names of the people I met with, but I went in and said, I want to become the number one agent in Tampa. Mm-hmm. Most of them poo-pooed that. Mm-hmm. Most of them were like, oh, you know, you want to like, you know, you might want to tame that down. And, you know, they weren't very encouraging at all. Sure. It was very much like, I can't believe they just told me.
Makes people uncomfortable when you're
it's
too
like,
much
I can't believe they just told me, like, you know, that, you know, to forget about what I want to become, because it made me, I was like, why would I want to go there? Right. Yeah. So when I went to her office and I told her what I wanted her to do, she's like, that's awesome. Well, we're going to help you get there. And that was the most encouraging message I got. So when I did decide to build a team, I went to her and I said, Pat, I'm really struggling with this name. And Pat's this little Southern firecracker, if you've ever met her. And so she's got this cute little accent. And I look at her and I say, and Pat's, I mean, she just had her birthday. Pat's, you know, elderly now, retired, you know. But I was like, I can't come up with a name, you know, the Duncan group, the Duncan team. And she looks up at me and she goes, the Duncan duo. And I was like, that's it.
That's where the magic started.
So I always joke.
Shout out to Pat. Little did she know probably what that would become.
Yeah. So, and then obviously it's ringy, it's catchy, it's memorable.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And then just started building it and growing it with that, you know, obviously around that name. So
did you always want to build a team from the beginning when you first got licensed? Did that evolve later?
No, okay. In all honesty, when I first got licensed, it was really more about me handling my own personal investment stuff. I was renting out, I was buying some rentals, I was doing some flips, and I just thought to myself, I became educated enough about real estate on my own that I felt like I could manage my own transactions. So at first, it was literally just as a vehicle for me saving money on and learning the market on my own personal investments. Then from there,
so when you say in your first year that you did one deal with your parents, does that not include your own personal investments, or are you talking about one?
Correct. Literally, like I say one house. It was one house and one condo. And you can look it up on MLS. Like I did two. And I had done maybe like a wholesale deal or maybe an off market, like a personal investment, but not actual sales. There were only a couple at that point.
What was the first year that things really felt like it was starting to move in the right direction?
I would say my third year in, I started to gain some traction. I think by that point, your sphere of influence trusts you. You start to get a little extra money to spend on marketing. And for me, I think one of the things I would tell a lot of agents, like early in the business, that was super discouraging to me is that friends and family are not going to use you at first. Like they're just not. Like you're brand new to the business. They don't trust you. They're selling their house. They don't know if you're really going to stick. They don't know if you're like in this thing for the long term.
Yep.
And so the first couple of years, I think you really can't rely too much on your sphere of influence because
it's interesting.
You haven't been around long enough. And the turnover in real estate, look, you know this.
Yeah, pretty high.
Like it's super high. Like people get in, they get out. Like there's plenty of people that get in that don't make it, right? Yep. And so because of that, I think by your third year, you really start to show longevity and people start to think, okay, yeah, this person's going to stick. And at least that was my experience. And so by the third year is when I really felt like I started to have people know, like, and trust me. I stuck long enough. I started to tweak it with some marketing things, started to figure out how to generate business. Went to a lot of free. I went to every single free event I could go to, every single conference, convention, mastermind. You didn't obviously have the podcast element and the Zoom training elements that you have today. So a lot of it was in person, but I went to every single thing that I could do to learn. And I did everything I could to maximize what I could get in terms of business, free or cheap, until I started pouring marketing dollars on it. So I wanted to become a great salesperson, and I wanted to maximize everything I could do with just labor before I started spending money, so that when I started spending money, there was a foundation and I could actually convert the business and sell clients. Because a lot of people do it wrong and they go out and they say, oh, I'm going to go out and spend all this money, or, they maybe have money from a prior career, but if they don't know how to sell, and they've not really mastered that process, they're going to generate a bunch of business and get no income out of it.
Sales is the core of most successful businesses.
So I think that's what happens a lot of times. People do it backwards. They either try and market too much without learning how to be a good salesperson, or they're a great salesperson, but they don't have any leads. They don't have any way to generate them because they don't know how to market.
Yep. No, it's smart. I want to touch on something. You mentioned your first 3 years and the fact that it really took you that third year to be able to see the growth and see the pop. You also mentioned that there's a lot of agents who kind of just fizzle out, right? They come and they go. And I think a lot of that is those first 3 years for a lot of newer agents who maybe don't have the vision or don't have the determination or the resilience to actually wait it out. For some people, there are some who pop it right away, and I've interviewed some of them, but I think most follow more of what you're describing as this path. Now, what do you think got you through when you got licensed in your mind, Andrew, psychologically? Were you like, this is my career no matter what? Like, I'm in this for the long haul and I see that vision?
I did not, actually. I probably didn't see that until the second and third year, just like anyone else. I mean, you don't sell a lot. Your confidence gets, hit a little bit, and you see other people being successful. And it's even harder today than it was back then to eliminate some of that noise, because today with social media, look, there's a lot of it that's fake, right? Like there's a lot of people out there saying they're successful and they rented a car that they put on their Instagram, or they're trying to impress people, right? And so, back then you didn't have all of that like right in your face. You didn't have this whole like,
persona that you have to live up to.
Or you didn't get to really look into people's lives as much to see who's succeeding and who's not.
Yeah.
But you could still get some of that just from relationships. And I wasn't performing as well as some other people. And I mean, I even remember like, that first and second year, like other people outperforming me in the office. And now I've crushed pretty much all of them in terms of production. But like, I remember that and being like, what are they doing that I'm not? How can I get better? But by year 3 for me, I started figuring it out. It just kind of hit. And I say this to a lot of salespeople that either join us or they get into the industry. If you're doing the right things and you can sustain it, right? And you're really putting forth the effort, right? Because there's a lot of people that get into real estate, especially now, that just don't put forth the effort.
Sure.
Right there. They saw something on social media, or they saw a TV show, and they think, oh, this is easy. And it's not. Like, it's a grind.
Yep.
So I think the third year for me, I started to figure that out. I started to get people to trust me. I started implementing marketing things. But you're right. I've had agents come into my team and knock it out of the park from the beginning and way outperform what I did in year 1. So
especially if you have a good team that can help you with systems and that kind of thing.
And I think that's where a lot of people make the mistake why they fail and fizzle out. They either go somewhere where they say, oh, I'm going to get all the commission. Well, you're going to get all the commission of what?
Right.
Like, you're going to get 100% of zero, still zero. Like, how are you going to generate the business? Or they don't have coaching and accountability or enough accountability or coaching because that broker is paying them such a small split that they don't have resources to deploy to help them get better. So I'm a big advocate for people joining teams. Obviously, I'm a big advocate for people joining my team, right? But certainly, I think that the team approach, if you're someone that wants to build a long-term business, go work for a team for 2 or 3 years, and you're going to learn way more and have enough income versus going 2 or 3 years of bleeding through money and trying to figure things out that you don't have to figure out if you plug into a team because they have things figured out already.
I want to talk a little bit more about the team genesis and how that started to go, but I also want to point out a lesson there because I think it's one thing if you just can't financially even see it through, right? But I think if you're going to be in this industry, the mindset of it might take me a couple of years to be able to get the traction just like it did for you, but look at how it's been worth it. I guess you would probably say it was worth it, right?
Of course.
To get through those challenges. And I think that's the vision that I think some people are kind of missing and are short-sighted to. And so I would just encourage you to, if you're going to be in the industry, like in it for the right reasons, and hopefully you can make the finances work, even if it's tough in the early stages, to know that it's worth it if you keep doing the right things.
And you have like to put in the work. You've got to put in the work. Like, way too many real estate agents get in and then they're out because they didn't put in the work. They go and they may spend a few hours a week calling and texting and showing some houses, and the rest of the time they're not putting in the work.
It can't just be a hobby, obviously.
Correct.
So at some point you started to become passionate about this idea of team building, right?
Yep.
That happened about what, 3, 4, 5 years in?
Yeah. And I hired a coach, and the coach is a team building coach, very much, aligned with, the vision of me getting to a certain quality of life standpoint. At that point, as it started to grow, and when I was personally in production, I was going on, 30 appointments a month. It was a grind, right? And so, the coach was really kind of the at the forefront of the team building concept at that time. And I think that was where the market was going. And I think clearly that's where the market has gone today. Yep. A lot of mega teams. And I think a lot of brokerages focus on that whole, let's get as many of those as we can because they can help salespeople sell more than that agent and make more. And we can make more than that person can do on their own because they need the lead gen and the support and the coaching and the accountability.
What are some things that you've learned, Andrew, about challenges you experienced in the team building process, things that lessons that I'm sure you've taken away that worked, things that didn't work, and that you feel like have really been important values or important crutches that have helped your team succeed?
I think you can train mostly everything except attitude and work ethic. You can't, if someone doesn't have that, you're not going to change it. I also think it's really challenging to motivate people. I think people are either motivated or they're not. And another person motivating someone else isn't super likely. What ends up happening in their life may motivate them. But I'm not a huge believer that a leader in real estate can necessarily motivate somebody that isn't motivatable, I guess you could say.
Sure.
Like, that doesn't mean you can't inspire and you can't encourage and you can't, for a brief period of time, push someone to motivate them. But if they're not self-managed, self-disciplined, and self-motivated, then the leader can't really push them further. Does that make sense?
It does. So what are some things that you look for to try to determine if they're that type of person?
So I love athletes. Okay. So like anyone that ever applies for a company that's an athlete, I love them. I think that is part of it. I think having an it factor, having a personality. Like I can look at someone's resume and think, oh, they're great, and then meet them in person and they're just not going to be, compassionate. They're not compassionate enough, but passionate enough. And they're not going to be convincing enough. They're just not a real estate person, right?
Gotcha.
So there's an it factor that comes along with having the right personality for sales and for real estate. The things that I would say I avoid would be people that don't want to, that have an objection to accountability, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to come in for meetings, or I don't want to meet with a coach, or I don't want to do those things. Well, then, it sounds like you don't want to work.
Flags. That's a good one.
Yeah, it sounds like you don't want to work, and so I think also sometimes people that have been in the industry a really long time, but not really done it well. Like, there's always a joke, like, I've been doing this for 20 years. It's like, I looked you up. You've sold 28 homes in 20 years. You've been doing it really bad for 20 years, right?
Right.
So like, for me, like, tenure isn't as important as, commitment, production, work ethic, because sometimes someone that's been in the industry a really long time can have some bad habits that they're just not going to be able to break. It's probably why they haven't gotten to another level.
No, great stuff there. I really love the red flags part of it. So I think sometimes when people are building a team, there's almost a desperation in some cases, where they just want people.
So
right?
I'll tell you some other red flags. Showing up to the interview drunk, probably a red flag. Have had that happen.
Wow,
yeah,
that's amazing.
We've had that happen. We've had people show up at the wrong time, of course, but yeah, we've had it multiple times where the person showed up and you could literally smell alcohol in their breath.
Wow.
So those are always fun ones. It's like, okay, this is probably not
It's going to be a short interview.
The right one for you. or we had another one where this is a really weird one. I had one way back in the day where they applied for an open position, and I think they'd emailed about setting up an interview, and it hadn't gotten confirmed yet. And I think there was something going on, and we were attempting to reschedule the interview, and they showed up at my house. That's a little weird. Okay. Don't be a creeper. Please don't show up at the crib. Okay. Like, I want to hire real estate agents, but I don't need you. I don't need you ringing the bell at my gate. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that was a weird one. That's another red flag. Don't show up at the broker or team leader's house before you have a confirmed interview, because then you're like looking like a stalker.
Yeah. That's crazy stuff. I mean, I'm sure you've kind of experienced a lot over the years.
I've had some weird ones. I've definitely had people. I've had people show up that wanted to meet me at my house, and it's like, okay, that's a little weird,
right?
Like, it's like, and I never envisioned it, because, like, billboards, TV, radio, like, to me, when I decided to do all of those things, I didn't ever quite realize the intrusion that happens from you becoming publicly known, right? When you're kind of putting your life out in the street, when you're putting your face on stuff, and you're on radio, and you're on TV, and you're at the Lightning games, you're on the jumbo, my logo's on. Like, I didn't realize when I did all those things, I thought, okay, it's great for my business. It's got a great ringy brand. But as it grew, I didn't quite think ahead to that was going
How
to
it
end
affect
up.
personally.
Sometimes those inconveniences would happen, and look, I wouldn't do it any differently, but I wasn't prepared for that part of it.
It's interesting. I don't think people recognize that. It's cool for you to bring that up, because I think that's a different side of it that most people don't hear.
Yep.
I want to bring that out about your relationship with the Lightning, because I think that's been a great partnership,
100%,
right, for you guys.
It's been amazing.
How did that start? Was that an idea that you had and you figure out a way to approach it? Tell people about that.
Yeah. So what's interesting is I was obviously a fan, right? I was a Lightning fan, and one of their people was a client, and they had said, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing this?" So we'd done some business with people within the organization, and somebody brought it up to us, and I was like, I'm in all these other places. They're a winning team. They're doing well. They're growing, and it just kind of organically turned into, let's see what this looks like. And but it did start from someone who works for the team kind of bringing the idea to us and then kind of spitballing it, kicking it around. I think it probably went several months before something finally happened with it. It was the off season. And, at that point I was on multiple radio stations. I was doing TV, but I don't think I was doing a ton of TV at that point. And I hadn't done billboards yet. So when the Lightning presented it to me, I also was spending a lot of money on past client entertainment. So to me, it kind of combined multiple things for our business. It allowed us to differentiate ourselves, right? Elevate our brand by aligning with a winning team that now is multiple Stanley Cup champions.
Great brand.
Great brand.
Probably the best in Tampa Bay, ironically.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it allowed us that opportunity, but there was also an entertaining aspect where instead of us doing, like, there's a lot of teams I see do like pie days and all these gifting things for their clients. I thought, I'd rather give my clients an experience. So now we send clients we get them tickets to concerts because of our relationship. We send them to games. We do an event at the arena every year where our clients get to go and like skate on the ice and win a bunch of prizes. And so it transitioned for us into, instead of doing all those individual things, let's do more of an experiential thing, for our clients and our agents. So it's really served multiple purposes. It isn't just the
first
lead gen.
People to do that with the Lightning, or were there ever other agents who had a similar relationship?
I believe we were the first real estate company.
Originated that?
Yeah, I believe we were the first real estate company that did that kind of partnership with them. Yeah.
And I could be naive about this, but is there the same type of relationship with like the Bucks? Or
they do have, they do. They call me about every year, and it's just not. It just
so there's a different group that has that with them.
Correct. Yeah.
But it's
changed. But it's changed a few times over the years. Like, I've stuck with the Lightning because it's consistent. It works, and I think there's a lot of brand alignment. It's a winning team. They have a great reputation.
Yeah.
It aligns with me and who I am as a person. There's just a lot of synergy there.
Yeah, I get it.
And I didn't necessarily, and it's
since Tampa doesn't have a basketball team, you had to find another
if
sport.
They did, hey, look, NBA,
that would be
if
your
you got one. I'm interested. And again, I was more of a hockey fan, and I thought there's more games, so there's more chance for me to have other people experience the arena, and so for me it was more of a more of an alignment to the Lightning.
And so when that initial whole thing started, did they just lay out an offer to you and said, this is what it's going to cost?
It was like, here are all the benefits, here are the different assets you can have, here are the packages that you can do, here are the things. And over the years, we've just kind of fine-tuned it to find, because again, they have partners that spend more money than I do. They've got Publix and, beer companies that are looking for different things than I'm looking for, right?
Yeah.
So every year it's a little bit of an adjustment to kind of work through and figure out, like, what is the asset deployment that works for me that they can provide. So, but
it's an exclusive agreement, right? That you guys are the only agents that are going to be there.
Yeah.
You, in many ways, I think, are known, at least from my perspective, as a marketer, right? Like, you have done a great job of creating a brand out there that feels like it's almost like everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you know anything about the real estate industry, like, it's kind of hard to meet anybody who doesn't at least know who the Duncan duo is. And I've heard about you guys. I'm curious, coming from, and I don't know if you see yourself the same way. Is that how?
100%.
Do you consider that one of your superpowers?
And that's still something that I probably. There's a lot of things through the years, and I think this last year. So a few years ago, I was probably more leveraged out of the business in certain things, but I never took my eye off of that. That's always been my baby. And obviously, as the market has changed, I've had to step into some other roles to kind of, because I generally believe that, I'm the best salesperson in my company. It's why I'm there, right? So as the market has shifted, I've realized that agents need more skill training, they need more coaching, and they need more from me. So I've stepped back into doing things that I hadn't done for a while, simply because the organization needed it. But marketing is something that I've never taken my eye off of, and that is definitely my wheelhouse for sure.
I'm curious, of all the things that you've done, right, and invested in, I'm sure your budget at one point was probably pretty large.
It's still large. It's still a big number. Like, it's seven figures every year, more than multiples of it.
Seven figures annually in marketing, which speaks to how important it is to you, right? Do you have favorite things that that would never not do no matter what? Like, you just have certain things that you loved?
I think, it's hard to say because the media market has changed so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always done a lot of radio. I've always been strategic about TV. I think billboards are great. However, because of things like this, I mean, we're on a podcast right now. So, podcasts didn't exist a decade ago, right? Like TV today is massively changing to where fewer and fewer people are watching network TV, they're watching cable, or they're watching streaming. And so it's hard to say because so much of what I've done has been deployed through mass media. I think the captive audience that I have at Lightning Games is really hard to replicate.
Yeah.
I have a whole period where my logo, where the Duncan Duo, your home sold guaranteed, plays on the replay swipe.
Yeah.
So it's literally like in your face on the Jumbotron, like you can't miss it. It's hard to replicate that from an in-audience perspective and an alignment with a brand. So I'd probably lean towards a Lightning. Radio and certain audiences on radio have done very well for me too. But again, that it's evolving a lot. It's hard to say that will still work the same way. 10 years from now, fewer and fewer and fewer people listen to radio. It's going to go to streaming and podcasts, and then I'm going to have to figure out, okay, where am I going to advertise in those mediums?
Yeah, it's interesting because you're right. I mean, obviously, marketing, just like everything else, evolves, right?
Yeah.
And your ability to evolve with those times and not get pigeonholed into a specific strategy, I think, because you can end up wasting a lot of money in strategies that aren't working anymore.
You have to be willing to pivot. And I think similarly with, like the marketing I do and certain calls to action and, guaranteed sale program, get an instant cash offer, all those things are dependent on what the market conditions are too. So I think to survive and keep thriving in any real estate market, you've got to always be evaluating, be willing to pivot.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So when I first hooked up with you guys, you were with Remax, right?
Yep.
That for how long were you with Remax?
More than a decade, like 12, 13 years.
Yeah, so that's a long period of time where you affiliated yourself with the brand, and obviously people knew that. During that time, the Duncan Duo built your name, and I know you've had changes even on your personal life with, with Angela, and then the Duncan Duo though stayed intact, right? Like that name is still what we go with today,
so
even though you're not with Angela anymore.
People ask that, and they say like, why didn't you change the name? And it's like, well, the tough part is like, I mean, look, if John Morgan and his wife, I'm divorced, I'm pretty sure it's going to stay Morgan. He'll just roll the kid in,
right.
And I met John. He's a brilliant guy. Yeah. But it's like you've built a brand and it just, like Keller and Williams. No one knows who Williams is.
Right.
I mean, he ain't there anymore. No one even knows who that guy is.
Yeah.
Like, and you look at like even locally, there's tons of real estate companies where the name of the company sounds like it's somebody's name and that person isn't there anymore. Yeah. So to me, one of the Duncan is still there. Mm-hmm. I have had a lot of jokes. Like I bought domain names for maybe future billboards to make jokes about it. And then I didn't really pursue them because I just didn't want it to be perceived in bad taste.
Right.
Like Duncan Solo with me, like a Han Solo thing. Like I think I'd be pretty funny. The Duncan Dude, like I'm surfing. Like I think those could be really. I think it could be really funny. Like the Duncan Dude, the Duncan Solo. So
you're testing them out there now.
Look, I bought the domain name, so you can't scoop me on it. All right. So, but yeah, and so it became a brand. I actually hired a company to evaluate it and tell me whether or not I should. And hands down, it was like, no,
keep it.
Absolutely. You're still there. You're Duncan.
Yeah.
You're the originator. You started it. Like, absolutely not. Don't change it. And so, and yeah, you're right. So it did become its own brand. So for me, it just didn't make sense to change it.
Yeah. Sometimes when you're a public figure, and I would consider you one in this Tampa Bay market anyway, and then you go through a personal challenge like a divorce, it's a hard thing to do, right? Of course, there's certain things that you're dealing with. And so I'm curious from that perspective, like when you knew that you were going through this on a personal challenge, you have this successful business, what effect did that have? What was it like for you to go through kind of that tough personal challenge and still overcome it?
So super challenging, right? and it's why I talked earlier about how, I don't always recommend spouses work together because it's not the easiest thing. It does add extra elements. There are parts of it that can be very rewarding and great, but there's also the other side of it that can be challenging. And so for me, I think it was much different. I've had a lot of friends that have gone through divorce. I mean, I know the divorce percentages today are above 50%, right? So
unfortunately,
I know that it's more commonplace today than it even was when I was growing up. Like, my parents were married 50 years, right?
Wow.
So for me, like, and my grandparents 65. So for me, it was this there was definitely a psychological obstacle for me because, you grew up in that environment where, people get married, they stay married. So that was probably the hardest part for me. I don't believe I had as many of the financial obstacles or arguments that people have with their partner when they divorce, mostly because one, I think we both handled it very professionally and amicably and with respect, and two, because we really did build it together. And I think there was certainly an homage of not wanting to hurt that, because
some mutual respect there.
Mutual respect of both of us, but also the people that work for us and the clients that we represent. Having a daughter and a family, and
which is interesting. Sorry to interrupt you.
My ex's brother still runs my social media. He still works for me. Wow. Like, so there's still like a lot of those things like that. It just didn't make sense to throw stones at each other. So it was, to me, I viewed it like I was buying out a business partner, whereas other friends didn't have that same kind of, their spouse didn't contribute financially to that. That's how I perceived it. And I think that made it a lot easier for me, at least from the business side of things.
No, that's fascinating. And I appreciate you sharing some insights, because I think when you have an organization that has a lot of people as employees, as you do, I believe, and you have a bunch of non-employees and employees and agents, and it almost from the outside can make it look like, do we really want to hurt other people because of our situation? Right.
And I think people get so clouded in it. And fortunately, I was able to kind of not go that path. And I think that, I've seen a lot of people's lives get completely destroyed by that. Right. And so I built a brand. I cared about it. Like we have a value system and core values, and I didn't want to do anything that didn't align with that, so for me, it was just not even on the table. It just wasn't going to happen. There's no question it was challenging, to go through it. And I think I learned a lot that I can now coach other people on to say, hey, I think you should look at it from this angle, or maybe think about it like this. And even people that are thinking about working together, just kind of caution them on some of the things you might want to set up or that you might want to prepare for, to avoid some of the challenges that happened for me.
Do you feel like there were some negative repercussions on the business side because of that? Did people end up leaving your team, or just feeling like this isn't where I want to be, maybe for any reason?
I really don't. And I think it was because my ex wasn't as involved in the business for realistically for a while.
Makes sense.
She had transitioned into some other things and was working, started an insurance business, had done some other things that I think that there really wasn't a lot of repercussions from that standpoint. Certainly, did I get people commenting on my Facebook like, where is she at? Did you have maybe a client or two that, had a relationship with her? But in terms of any dramatic impact, not really, because at least from a business standpoint, from a financial standpoint, it changed some decisions about risk tolerance, and there was an exchange of money, right? So that changes. Okay, how much is in reserve now to be able to go do this? So it changed some things there, and I think it certainly changed some things in my personal life. No question about it.
Makes sense. So let's talk a little bit about some of the exciting stuff you got going on now with LPT, right? Yeah. This is rather new, within the last year, I believe, correct? Yep. And so, how did this happen? Who approached who? What was it about it that was exciting to you? I know you did so well with Remax, and it must have been a big decision.
And look, I have nothing but great things to say about Remax. You can't be somewhere for 12 or 13 years and not have good things. We had a good run. I just believed that the industry has changed so much, and there have been so much disruption in the last few years that kind of old school brokerage models just aren't the wave of the future. I think companies need to evolve, and it wasn't evolving the way that I saw it. And for me, not just as a real estate agent locally in Tampa Bay, but who has relationships all over the world, really, with real estate agents. I go to events almost every month where I'm meeting and hanging out with other real estate agents and learning from them and masterminding. And so I realized how much opportunity there was with a company like LPT to be able to help grow LPT and get a financial benefit from that. So, and my agents the same. Like, I've got countless agents that have worked me through the years, and at the end of their career, if they don't sell another house, they're toast. They don't have money. They got to keep selling houses. That's why sometimes I see real estate agents, still selling houses that really want to retire.
Right.
And so the cool part is that LPT's model kind of solves that. They allow the agent to earn these things that they can continue to get after the fact, or that they can get extra revenue from. And I love that in the model. I actually sought them out, truthfully. I had my franchise agreement was up with Remax, and I was looking at other models. I had seen some chatter about them. I'd had some friends at other models. I'd known Robert Palmer.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had a relationship with him.
I'd known him for a long time. And thought he was brilliant, a brilliant marketer. You look similar to how you talk about, my branding. You couldn't go anywhere. No closing costs.
Some
RP
people
funding.
think RP.
Yeah, right. Hey, there you go, Robert.
That's a thing. Robert, sorry, that's not
LPT.
you. But
we're promoting LPT right now. Okay. So
he started LPT.
He did. Yeah, he launched LPT, and I think. When I went to Orlando and met with him, and the kind of the fire that he's got in the belly for helping real estate agents and growing a national company, I kind of describe it like, if you've read John Maxwell. John Maxwell has his irrefutable laws of leadership, right? Yeah. One of them is the law of the lid.
Yep.
Okay, and like, I want to run my team, and I've done work very well. I'm wealthy. I've made millions of dollars. I don't have to worry about a lot of things, right? It creates more money, more problems, right? It does create other obstacles, but I'm really blessed and fortunate. I don't want to grow some great big national company. I don't want to be flying all over the country recruiting. It's just not my vision. So my lid is here. He's got a higher lid. His goal is to go bigger, to grow this great big thing. And I just saw it to be a great place for me to plug in, to learn, to help it grow, so that it would benefit me and my family and my team. So I like how forward thinking the model is, and I like the extra. In a real estate market where there's already a lot of threats to what we do and to commissions and all these things, I liked that it created some of these other opportunities.
And are those other opportunities revolving around like recruiting opportunities?
Yeah,
right?
It's recruiting and then earnings. But it isn't just. There are models out there that are really heavily based on recruiting. It's also about earning pre-IPO stock in a company. So for example, I'll tell you what kind of really got me thinking about it. I was on a plane last year. And I was sitting next to a guy, and he sat down next to me, and I have an incredible house and I have really nice cars, but I'm not like a jewelry guy. Like, I have a Fitbit. Sure. Like, I'm not wearing a Dolce & Gabbana suit. I'm very like, that's not my jam. But he walks on the plane and he's got $100,000 Rolex. He's really decked out. You can tell he's doing very well. So we sit down and we kind of start talking.
Or at least he wants people to think he is.
We start talking. No, this guy was doing really well. We start talking, and he built a company and got a lot of pre-IPO stock and made $14 million on it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, in our business, we can make a lot of money, but it's a little bit more of a slower pace. There's no huge home run swings, it's not a windfall that you can make, right? Yeah. Whereas that was the potential of helping build IPO, or the stock and the IPO, and being a part of LPT. For me, I saw this opportunity that I couldn't get by running my team as an independent or running it within a company that didn't have those things. So I saw this, for me. What would help me sell more real estate, because the model and the tools and the systems, what would help me add, shares and rev share and another revenue pillar. But I saw that opportunity as a home run swing that I couldn't do on my own, and for my agents too, for them to be able to earn money and think of money as an investor. I invested in a real estate tech company that I've got an 800% return on my money in 13 months. So I look at some of these high growth companies. Real estate teams don't create that kind of stuff, but fast growing brokerages can. And I believe it. And I believe that'll happen with it.
Was it a pretty seamless transition for your team?
No. No transition is ever seamless. Okay. What I can say is they worked really hard to accommodate everything. But when you've run a business the same way you've run it for a really long time, there are some obstacles in the transition. Certainly some of it was on our end, not setting proper expectations and kind of the quickness of how everything had to happen. And I think that was probably the majority of it. And then, just again, getting integrated into new systems and new philosophies. I think I've gained multiple agents since I joined and only had one leave. So as far as I take it, like I view that as a victory.
Sure.
And I think that, I think any transition you kind of have to prepare for. And I hadn't done a transition in so long that a lot of the obstacles that didn't go as smoothly as I wanted them to go were really on me, and so what I can say now is that everything is smooth and going great, but it was a month of getting through obstacles, and any business that transitions, you're going to run into that for sure.
So now that we're about to kick off 2024, right?
Yeah.
New year. It's always a thought of new goals, new aspirations, new things I'm fired up about.
Yeah.
And you with this new brokerage and you're building your team, continuing to do so. What gets you fired up, Andrew, about 2024 and beyond? What's the vision look like now?
So that one thing that does, I mentioned the LPT thing. It really does get me fired up. I think the real estate market is going through some massive disruptive change right now. I think that, I'm excited about, interest rates coming down. Of course, that's going to help fuel some activity. But one of the cool things that I enjoy, look, I've done this almost 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. So when you've done something 20 years, sometimes you can get a little burned out on certain parts of the business. And so for me, one of the things I really love about LPT is it extended the number of people I can help. So when I run my real estate team, and I think we're at like just short of 40 people right now, right?
What's the biggest it's ever been?
What's the biggest? Almost, I would say 55.
Okay.
So I'd heard you say that we were like at 80. I think in another podcast. Like, no, we never got to that number. That's a myth. That's a fable. But no, it's like probably 55. So
okay.
So we're hovering probably a little less than 40, in the 30s for sure, in terms of total team count. And so like the So anyway, those are the people that I can have impact on, right? And also get a financial benefit, mm-hmm. right? And so with LPT, I have the ability now to help people understand its model and kind of build community in a bigger runway. Yeah. And not just a local runway, but a national runway. So, I'm talking to real estate agents from all over the country about the opportunity. A lot of my friends, a lot of people that run businesses like mine. And that's really fun for me because then you're talking to people that are on a comparable level to you that have gone through some of those challenges, and you learn some things that they're doing. You're like, oh, wait a second, I need to put that into my business. Well, I certainly get some benefit in that kind of communication we have in our company. The agents that work for me are thinking about things from a different level than somebody who's running their business like a CEO level. So that's been really fun for me is that, and my ability to help them in their business and build community around not just my team, but around helping other people see the opportunity at LPT, and then us working together to help each other grow. And so, talking to other agents. It's
interesting in a way too, because RE/MAX still has a global brand, right? Sure. But it feels like, anyway, maybe I'm wrong, that you didn't feel the same way about what that could bring, because you didn't have that national reach.
If you look at it, there's really not a there's not a financial benefit for me
to do anything there,
to help the company grow. I don't get any stock.
Yeah.
They IPO'd. I didn't get a chance to buy into it. Like there's really no and because of that, people have to have a vested interest in it. Yeah. And otherwise, what is their purpose? They just say, well, I'll just keep selling more real estate, right? And so, it's not as if you can't do both. I think you can. I know plenty of people have. You just have to have the right people in place. But I've enjoyed so far talking to some of the other top teams about LPT, learning how we can help each other. We're going to do events together, podcasts, all these things that we're brainstorming.
I think I saw something online that isn't LPT one of the fastest growing percentage-wise brokerages in the country.
They're fastest growing ever percentage-wise. They're, I think, 7,000 agents in a year and a half.
Yeah.
And that's pretty remarkable growth.
Awesome.
And opening there, I think we're hitting 20 states now. The idea is to IPO within a year and then go fully scaled national. So as that grows, the cool part for me of getting in early, is being aligned with a company that's growing like that, right?
Once
like
that IPO takes place, will there still be stock options for people after that?
I'm sure, I'm sure there has to, that just makes sense, right? Other companies have done that, so I can't envision why that wouldn't happen, but that would obviously be a Robert decision.
Yeah.
But I think that, but again, the vested interest in the growth, the ability to build community, a cloud-based brokerage, and truly a marketer at the top of the company.
Yeah.
Like Robert's a marketer.
That's one thing Robert definitely is.
He is a marketer.
Yeah.
He knows how to help people market. He knows how to give marketing advice. And my experience so far with him has been off the charts great. Like I text him, he responds. I email him, he responds. Like it's him, right?
Yeah.
So I have a relationship with the guy that's building this great big thing. And I think at a lot of companies you wouldn't have that because he sees that I'm a marketer too.
Yeah.
So, like I can run ideas by him. It's an extra mentor for me to be able to run ideas past. And I think anyone running a big team will have that kind of, he has this thing called Tribe, which is what he puts his he calls it, I think it's TV, radio, internet branding experts. His group of Tribe.
That's cool.
He definitely is available to them to help them and give them advice about media and different things that he's done. And so he's been very responsive and very hands-on with our transition. Cause I think we were probably the first big team, and there's been a few since, and there's a whole bunch more coming that I'm communicating with, but he was very hands-on, which I appreciated. He has shown that he's willing to do the work, which I think tells me that the company's going really far places.
That's cool, man. It's exciting stuff. I appreciate you sharing some of the thoughts behind it, because I think when you have your presence within Tampa Bay and you make a move like that, a lot of people are like, "Whoa, like where did that come from?"
And I will tell you, it probably a move like that probably would have happened sooner if divorce hadn't happened.
Sure,
that definitely kind of cobbled some things with assets and having to work through some stuff and authority and what I could sell, what I couldn't sell, that kind of stuff. So I couldn't move. So that it probably would have happened sooner, but and again, I have nothing but great things to say about Remax. They were a great part of my growth. I just didn't see my future aligning with it anymore, and felt like there was more opportunity in this model for growth for both me and my agents, and more upside. And that's what
seems like if anybody is in a scenario where they either are ending something, a business relationship or even a marriage, you might be a good guy to talk to, because you seem to end things well.
I've had a few of them. Yeah.
You know how to end things amicably. Yeah. So that's a good thing.
Endings. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Of one of many things people can learn from you, right? Let's go through just a couple things. We're running out of time, unfortunately, but I wanted to get a little bit more just about you personally for people who don't know you that well.
Yeah.
So you already mentioned you're a big sports guy.
Yeah.
You love basketball and all
hockey,
those things. So what are some other things you just love to do? What are some passions you have?
Cars.
You're a car guy.
Yeah. If you follow my personal Instagram, the Andrew Duncan, the Duncan duo one is real estate stuff with an occasional car thing. But yeah, I'm a car junkie. I've got a nice
old
car
antiques,
collection.
or?
No, exotics, JDM cars. I love Japanese cars like GTRs and Supras. I have a McLaren 720S, a Ferrari 458.
Nice.
So
Where do you drive these
cars.
things?
All over Tampa. Yeah. I mean, I do I'm friends with racetrack owners, and so I'll go do that sometimes too. But I'm a car junkie. So I've always loved cars. I grew up really close to the Indy 500.
There you go.
So my dad would take me there every year, and hearing
cool.
the exhaust note and the loud cars. And so I've always just been.
Do you go to the races?
Person.
Do you have a favorite? Is the Indy 500 your favorite race?
I would say I really like F1 now. It's pretty incredible. I have gone to the Indy multiple times. I've gone to Daytona, And I've gone to plenty of NASCAR races too. I like drag racing, to be honest. I love drag racing. That's probably more of what I probably pay more attention to.
Have you gotten to drive yet on the Autobahn out in Germany?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not been to Germany.
It's on the list, probably.
It's on the list. Yeah, it's definitely way up on the list. But yeah, so I love cars. I've always been a car person. And
what's your nationality, Duncan?
It is, I'm a mutt. So Scottish, a little bit of everything, really.
Okay.
Scottish, I think, is probably the lead.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Do you have a favorite place to travel?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say I probably travel the most to California. And I think that started the 5 years that I traveled there. It almost feels like
a
a second
gorgeous
home
state.
to me.
I'm not a huge fan of some of their policies
I
and
would
stuff
never
that they've
live there.
done, but the taxes are ridiculous.
It has gotten way worse. Even visiting there is not the same as it used to be. But I've got a lot of connection there. I would say that I went to Spain. In fact, I missed your panel.
That's right.
I screwed up and missed your panel. It was on me. I messed up. Don did a panel. I want to say, like, I'm super sorry because Don did a panel. I booked it. I said I'd be there, and then I completely messed up. And I'm with my daughter. On vacation. I'm with my daughter and my girlfriend on vacation in Spain. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I messed this up. And I did. I totally botched it. So,
that's all right. We'll just put you on a panel a couple years from now.
Spain was awesome. I would say I can't wait to go back to Italy. And I can't wait to go back to Japan. Those would probably be the top two places that I can't wait to visit.
I loved Italy too. It was one
during
of
the
my
holidays, New York City too. During the holidays, like you got to go to New York.
I heard you say you're going next week. Is that right?
Yeah, and so the same thing. The same thing about New York as California is I could not live there. Yeah, like absolutely could not live.
Holiday during this time, New York during this time of year is beautiful.
Yeah,
it's a cool experience for sure. It just kind of puts you into this like romance type feeling.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool like Christmas vibe. You know, shopping, the lights,
the whole thing.
The cold.
Exactly.
I get a few days of cold.
The big
That's
tree.
all I want. I want a few days of cold.
Absolutely.
That's it. Then I'm like ready to get back to the 70s.
We've had it locally here actually.
Yeah, it's
lately,
a little chilly. It's a little windy. Yeah.
New York will be a different level for sure.
Of course.
Favorite food? Do you have one?
I would say my favorite food, man, I love sweets. Anything probably like Nutella and peanut butter.
Look at that. So someone wants to get on your good side.
Vice.
That's the way to the heart, huh?
And it's bad. Like, so please don't, because I've been on like a clean diet thing. I'm doing my Fit Life foods and I'm working out and trying to do everything I can outside of the really terrible meals I'm going to have on vacations and trips. So don't send me Nutella or peanut butter. I would say
he'll eat it, but he'll regret it later.
I would say I like pizza. Pizza's probably up there on my list.
There you go.
But Chick-fil-A is my consistent.
Look at you,
I'm a Chick-fil-A man.
Right.
I'm a Chick-fil-A. The one on Gandy. My buddy Donovan that runs it. Man, they know me by name there. Like I pull in any one of my cars, they know it's me.
Nice.
Like I'm there. I'm literally
dude pulling up in the McLaren. There's probably not that many people going up to Chick-fil-A in the McLaren.
I've done it. So I would say I'm probably there on average once a day, and I eat healthy there.
That's a lot of Chick-fil-A.
I do the grilled chicken. I do the fruit cup and a half and half tea, so I can get in there for relatively healthy. Now,
considering branding and marketing, they've done a great job over the years. Building their marketing.
Like I said, I'm friends with the owner. He's a client of mine.
Nice.
So yeah, that's another part of it too, and it's literally like a minute from my office, which makes it super convenient.
As a sports guy, do you have a favorite team?
So it depends on the sport.
Lightning?
It depends on the sport. Obviously, the Lightning helps me make money. Right. So I can't
They
say
become my favorite team.
I can't say anything that's above that. But if I had to rank sports teams below that, because I'm a basketball guy, I love the Lakers and I love the Warriors.
Nice.
It's simply because the
Steph
Lakers
Curry, you're a Steph Curry guy?
Yeah, the Warriors style of basketball, lots of threes. I feel like it evolved. It totally evolved the NBA. They're not the team that they used to be this year. They're not having a great year, but the style of basketball has really kind of become prevalent in the NBA, really centered around shooting. The Lakers just historically like a powerhouse of a franchise, and because I was a big Kobe fan, that has kind of continued.
I was a big Kobe fan too, even before his passing, just watching his career. But what did you think of the winning the tournament, in-season tournament this year?
I mean, hey, the Lakers won it.
First time ever, right?
First time ever, yeah. So I
actually got into it. I was surprised. I didn't think I would be.
I actually had a buddy at one of the games and was sitting courtside. And he was like 2 seats away from Kim Kardashian. He got a picture with her.
Is that right?
And he's in like all these like video, literally like they took a bunch of pictures of her and he's sitting right there. He was like, he didn't have any idea that was who was going to was to him.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
When I first heard the idea, I was like, this is stupid. Like, why are they doing this? And then, I don't know, it started happening and it looked like the players actually cared.
Yeah.
Right? And they were playing hard.
Well, and I'll tell you why. And I think why they cared is because a lot of I would say on most NBA teams, the salaries are really top heavy.
Yeah.
Like if you look at
the bench, like $500,000 for every team. That was huge.
They get a
every
$500,000. Yeah. So those bench players were really like, and I think it also made the guys that made a bunch want to play a little harder so
Yeah.
their bench guys could get a shot at that. So I
Which
think
is
that
cool.
definitely
I can
helped
see
it.
that.
And it was definitely cool. Is it like the NBA Finals? No, but it was still kind of a neat
Right.
spin to kind of wake up the audience a little bit.
Yeah, it was a little weird to see the Lakers popping champagne in November,
Yeah.
December.
Definitely
You know, it's like
different. Yeah,
it's a
for
little
sure.
different.
Yeah.
But hey, we'll see how that evolves, I guess, in the years to
Yeah,
come.
for sure.
Do you have a favorite book, Andrew, or author, or even a seminar that you feel like has made a huge impact on you personally or professionally?
Tony Robbins, I would say, is way
Yeah.
up there on the
We've
list
talked
for
about
me.
that before.
I've done Tony's stuff. I think it's impactful, and I think that no matter when I experience his stuff, whatever I'm going through in life, I get a completely different experience from the material.
Yeah.
The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy is one of my favorite books. I feel like I've read that book probably 5 times through 5 different iterations of things going on in my life. And every time I read it, I get something, I apply something completely different about it. And it kind of goes back to my business. It's just compounding over time that really, is where the success happens. And I think a lot of times everyone wants to cut corners and make everything happen really fast. And I think that can sometimes sabotage long-term success. So for me, the Compound Effect, I think, is a great reminder of how small little decisions can turn into really big things over a period of time. So I love that.
It's a great book too. Yeah, I've read it. There's a book called The Slight Edge, written by Jeff Olson, which is a similar principle about just those little decisions every day and what it adds up to be. And it's a very,
I would
very
say
powerful book.
there's definitely like an aspect of me, I try and read. I don't read as much as I used to, but I read about a book a month as my goal.
Yeah.
I did not hit it this year, because I've been in the trenches working more than I had in a while to kind of help.
You got a lot going on this year.
Yeah, it's been, and so I didn't read as much as I wanted to this year, but I did end up reading The Compound Effect again early in the year. I think I read it over a weekend, and it's just, like I said, for me, it's like my go-to for when I need to change something.
Yeah.
Because I think so often we try and change things that we try and change them too fast, and we don't realize that you need a gradual, you need to make steps. It can't just quitting things cold turkey or changing things cold turkey is just really hard to do. You have to do it in steps.
Yeah. So even Tony Robbins teaches that we tend to overestimate what we can do in 1 year and underestimate what we can do in 10 years.
Correct.
Right. And so that's
exactly
the concept of the compound effect, right?
100%.
We're going to put a bow on the episode, but I want to ask you this question. I'm curious of your answer in terms of what I call the legacy question, right?
Yeah.
So you've built a great team, great brand, and you have a great personal life, it feels like, and you have a lot going on from that perspective. But at some point, we all kind of sit back, and when we retire, or maybe you will never retire. I don't think I ever will technically, but
it's interesting because
I don't really want to.
Like, I think that there are times where and again, I think that if I transition into doing other things or opening other real estate opportunities, I think I'm going to be involved in that always. Yeah. It's just a matter of how active or what I'm actually doing in that capacity. As far as like my legacy, that was a lot of the LPT thing for me, because I wanted to help more people, and I felt like that. Look, people that join my team, there are plenty of people that join my team that say, hey, I want to make a great income. I want to be a real estate agent. Very rarely do I get someone that joins my team that says, I want to be you, and I'm willing to do what it takes. Because a lot of people will say that they want that,
right?
But how many will actually do the work and grind and do all the things necessary to get to a point where maybe they could someday, get to a point where they're achieving what I accomplished. So the move to LPT for me allowed me to help more people. It allowed me to have more impact in the real estate agent space, and have the opportunity to help other people run businesses like mine, help guide other people, other real estate teams across the country, help real estate agents make wealth building decisions versus just how much commission can I get on this next deal. Every time I hear an agent think about how much of a percentage they get, it's always the wrong question. It's how much money can you make? It isn't about the percentage you get. Right. It's about how much you take home to your family. Right. And so the wealth building aspect, unfortunately, so many real estate agents aren't homeowners and don't invest in real estate and don't create residual opportunities for income. So that for me, I think is bringing those opportunities to the real estate agent space and allowing and teaching more real estate agents about wealth building, about growing a business, and about extending a longer runway that that helps more people.
So if you had to say what you'd want to be most remembered for, would it be that you just described?
I would love to, first and foremost, I would love to be the people I care about most, right? Because I think publicly, I'm probably at a point in my life where I really don't care what a lot of people think about me, right? Like I got to a point where it's like, I know I'm a good person. I know I'm going to work hard. I know I'm going to build a big business. But as far as my legacy, it's probably centered around the people closest to me and how I can help and impact them, more even so than how many other people I can help. It's who the people I really care most about think about me. That's probably more of my concern for my legacy than a public perception or than even helping more real estate agents. I would say my next 10-year vision, certainly it's helping more real estate agents. But as far as like when I get to the end of my life, it's probably going to be more about those people closest to me, doing what I can to have better help them, and then the legacy that they have of me, if that makes sense, right? And I think that's changed. For me, that's changed. I think if you asked me that question 10 years ago, I think I probably had my priorities wrong in terms of what I wanted, how much I cared, or what I thought other people thought of me.
Well, you would think that most people, as they mature, hopefully will change in those ways and come up with some things that really are the real important. Because as we do age and we get to know people, I mean, I've had even people in my life that I just recently went to school with who have passed away.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I'm having it happen too.
Yeah.
Like I just saw it the other day, and it's very eye-opening. It's like, so I'll give you a personal anecdote as we wrap up. My grandmother recently passed. And so I've worked really hard to build a business, make a lot of money, and live a great life. And so, I was talking to my grandma, and it's the first experience I've had where someone has passed in my life where I had a heads up that it was coming, right? Like my older brother passed away unexpectedly a few years ago. My dad passed away. My dad was sick, but I certainly didn't know the morning that I woke up that my dad might die that day, right? Something happened and he didn't make it. My grandma was in hospice, and so they're telling us she's winding down, like her stuff is failing. She's got limited time left. Come see her, right? So I went up to Indiana to see her, and I sat by her bed, and I just talked to her, and I was like, what would you do differently? And the thing she said to me really kind of made me think about it. She's like, I would have convinced your grandfather to retire a little sooner, travel a little bit more, spend more time with family. And I thought to myself, and I even read it not long ago that was like, most people at the end of their life, they don't say, I wish I had more money. I
worked more. Yeah.
I wish I worked more. I wish I had more money to leave to the people, because after I die, can't bury it with you, Right. So I think that was eye-opening for me too, about kind of that connection to not just family, but to like your people that kind of really are loyal to you, have your back, have been there for you, that kind of thing. So that was definitely, I think, probably a pivotal moment for me.
It's awesome. I actually was there when my father passed at 19, and it was a similar conversation because he was in hospice cancer, pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
And we got a chance to really connect despite some tough years, me as a teenager being fairly rebellious.
Yeah.
We were able to solve that, but it really was an eye-opener to see how short and how precious life really is.
Right.
And we're going to wrap up, but I read the Bible every day. And so I've been reading through Ecclesiastes, which is a book written by King Solomon, right? And it's interesting to me because he talked about what you just said, where he talks a lot about in this book of Ecclesiastes about how life is fleeting and,